As a single parent, you know all too well about the invisible weight of being the only adult in the room. You're the one making every decision, carrying every worry, deciding what's important and why, and having to pick up the entire space and keep it under control while you have little things running around undoing all of your hard work. That's what we're going to talk about today is how to get your space under control. So what I want you to do is before you start anything, before you pick up a piece of trash, before you start to organize, take a before picture. Take a picture to be able to help you number 1, track your progress because it's so easy to make a ton of progress and not realize it because you still see what's left, right? So that is one step, but it also helps you to see clutter that you may have otherwise become blind to. We're so used to moving through our space and kind of get used to what's around us. We'll have a picture on the wall and we haven't really looked at that picture in who knows how long, right? And that's the same with our stuff. We'll have a thing that needs to get done and it'll sit somewhere and it'll stay there for a really long time. So, taking a picture is one way that you can actually help yourself get past clutter blindness. Now, a lot of the things I'm going to talk about are things that I have learned from Cass on Clutterbug. So, if any of you remember the HGTV show, Hot Mess House, I believe was the original show that she did. That's how I was introduced to her. And then I eventually found out that she had a YouTube channel called, I believe, the Clutterbug Podcast. And she is a wonderful inspiration. She shows a lot of different um, houses that she's gone through and things like that. But one of the things I really loved about what she was teaching was that she wasn't trying to make everybody organize the same way, right? So in her, framework, she has 4 different organizing styles, and understanding the styles of each person in your house, whether they're a ladybug or a cricket or a butterfly or a bee, that helps you understand, are they a visual organizer or do they prefer hidden storage? Are they macro in category setup, or are they like me and love to have tons of little categories for every little thing? So, understanding your type and your children's type, for example, are going to help you overall understand the best way to go about organizing your space. The other person who's been a huge inspiration for me lately has been the minimal mom. So this woman is focused on minimalism, which I am so not a minimalist, and that's okay. But there's a lot of principles and a lot of research that she shares that can actually really help to, you know, change how you think about your stuff and whether you really truly need it. Essentially, if you have fewer things, then there are fewer things calling for your attention, calling to be clean, calling to be maintained, calling to be put away. And so it reduces what she references as a silent to do list. And I think many of us can really relate to that. Some of the other concepts that have really helped me are 5 minutes matters, right? So if I have 5 minutes, it doesn't sound like a lot of time, but I can actually make a lot of progress in a short amount of time because work expands to fill the time that you give it, right? So if you know that you have to pick up your kids from school, but you've got 5 minutes before you need to leave, set an alarm on your Alexa and go 5 minutes around your house to make sure that you can pick up a whole bunch of things, whether it's just trash or putting a couple things away. And if you do that multiple times, you're going to see the results of all of that effort. And it doesn't feel like any extra effort because you're just using these little pockets of time that you find when you might otherwise just waste them or scroll or, whatever it may be. Another concept that I really have to work on is done is better than perfect, right? So I am a recovering perfectionist. I am in Cass's Clutterbug style, a cricket, which means I like hidden storage and I like very detailed categories, which means if I can't do it perfectly, I'm going to pile it and do it later, which creates a mess and also a lot of stress, right? So you need to be able to lower the bar for what done looks like and let go of some of the perfectionism. Okay. You can always make it more perfect later, but you need to be able to have a quick way on your days where you're exhausted to be done with whatever the task is for picking up the house. The other concept I really like is if it takes 2 minutes or less, do it now. I've heard other people say 1 minute or less. Figure out what that number is for you, right? There's probably a number that makes sense to you in terms of, well, like that's really such a low bar. I can definitely step over that without a whole lot of effort. But those little things, again, add up. So, in terms of where to start, there's a lot of different philosophies about this, but one of the ways you can approach this is to start with the areas that you have actual control over, right? Because I have tried starting in the kitchen and I have tried starting in the living room and I have tried to pick up the common spaces of our house. And those are the ones that most quickly get undone, right? Those are the ones where we're doing a lot of the living and where multiple people are coming through and multiple people are using it for multiple purposes. So those are the areas that are probably the hardest to not get clean, but keep clean. So start in the areas where you have some control, right? If it's your bedroom, if it's your bathroom, if it's your closet, those are all areas that you have pretty much your domain, right? Like that is hopefully, hopefully your kids are not coming in to mess that up. I mean, granted, they do a little bit probably, but at least that should be more limited, right? So you can actually make progress there, and that sustained progress is going to help motivate you to keep going because you have a place of peace. You have a place you can go when you're stressed out or when you just are like, can't take it in anymore because something's melting down somewhere, right? So that is really a big part of it. So again, whether that is your bedroom because that's where you wake up and you start each day and that's where you end each day, or whether that's your office because that's where you spend the majority of your working hours if you work from home, or that's where you have to do your hardest tasks. Whatever those spaces are, if they're your space, start there. Next, I want you to experiment with systems. So, there's not one magic system that works for every person in every space. So, one of the things I've discovered is, I've tried to follow influencers and I've tried to, try this product or that product. And this next thing is going to be the next magical thing that's going to work for me. And a lot of times I invested money just to end up not having it work, right? So, if there is a way for you to test drive that process or that product without actually having to invest in it, that's something you should explore, right? So I love acrylic bins, right? They're just beautiful. That is my thing. And there's a few that are wood, but most of them are acrylic now. That's not where I started though. I started out with the plastic drawers that would like fall apart and break and all of those things. And I tried all these different systems, and a lot of times I didn't even know what I was trying to put into those systems before I purchased them, right? Um, so the first thing is test drive wherever you can. Use a shoe box instead of a plastic bin. Use, boxes like from what your kids' toys come in. I mean, some of these boxes are really nice. It's like you don't have to recycle them right away. Just use this as a drawer divider. Use this to organize a group of Legos or a group of minifigure heads or whatever it may be, right? So there's lots of different things you can do that don't cost any extra money. It's just a matter of noticing what's around you and what can potentially be repurposed or useful again. And when you start cheap, then you can actually figure out what works for you. And then you can invest in a situation and a solution, knowing how much space you need to take, what you actually need to buy, and then it actually works, right? So start with what you have access to. And then when you do invest in a system, I really recommend systems that are things that can move around different parts of your house, right? So I have a very limited number of types of organization. I have certain types of wood boxes. I have certain types of acrylic boxes that I use and bins to use to organize my things. So as my life inevitably ebbs and flows and different interests come in or different things go out, I have the ability to move those things around to different spaces to accommodate the needs of myself and my kids, because they're all sort of interchangeable at this point, right? If I do a system that's like, this is only going to live in this one space for the rest of the time that I live in this house, now that's not super helpful if that system starts breaking down and you need to change something because your life has fundamentally changed in some way. The next tip I have is to have the kids help. So, my oldest child, when he first went to kindergarten, he had the most amazing teacher. This gentleman was incredible, right? And he was teaching not only the kids, but he was teaching the parents, which was really needed because a lot of us were first time parents sending our kids off to kindergarten. And one of the things he would tell us was that we need to really start thinking about the fact that by the time our kids are in kindergarten, there's a lot that they can do for themselves. So find ways to start small because we're talking about school. Um, so find ways to start small, and then you can build on those skill sets as they get good at different things, right? So maybe it's that they know where to put their shoes away, or they know where to place their backpack, or they can be responsible for, following a list of things, depending on how old they are, following a list of things that they need to do before they go to bed, like brush their teeth and go to the bathroom and get jammies on, things like that. So start small, but build over time. Because you have to remember these tiny humans are eventually going to become adults, and they're going to be the person that some other person is yelling at because they won't pick up their clothes and put them in the hamper instead of they're just dropping them on the floor, right? So help your future kids partners, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. You need to develop systems. So, not just ones that will work on your high energy days when everything is going well and you're winning at life. We really need to look for what is a system that I can do even on the overwhelming days when I'm exhausted and I am not ready to take one more action today, right? How can you have a way where the groceries show up and you have a place to put them, even if it's not perfectly organized into your categories, you have a place to put them so that it's done and away and people can find it. And then later, when you're better resourced or you have more sleep, you can go back and then put them the way you would prefer to have them, right? So systems kind of need to build on themselves, but think about having systems that are low energy, low requirement systems. And then you can also still have your high energy, things that are your idealized version. Just realize you're not going to always hit that mark. So find something where you can hit the low mark consistently and then have a way for that to build up to the high mark on the days where you have time and have the energy to invest in those things. We need to build buffers not only in our schedules, but also in our spaces. So, a full drawer or a packed closet is not an accomplishment. We are not playing Tetris with our stuff. And so many times, I think we think that if we could just get the right organizing product, if I could just find the right way to fit all these little things in here, that somehow or other I don't have to get rid of anything. But the reality is, we're spending money on things to organize things we don't care about and things we don't use anyway, right? Why? Because we're not taking the time to really evaluate whether that thing needs to still be in our life. Maybe it was useful for a period of time. Maybe we have aspirational clutter. This is a huge part of things, right? We need to evaluate, does this fit this season of our life? And if it doesn't, especially if it's something that you can replace easy enough, like a book, for example, there's very few books that you couldn't go out and replace 3 or 5 years from now in some format, even digitally immediately if you needed it, if you let go of it, right? So there's lots of things like that that you can think about as how can I be okay with letting go of something, knowing that if I really truly need it, I could potentially bring it back into my life. Um, so we want to make sure that we're giving ourselves room to breathe. And by giving ourselves room to breathe, we're not constantly focusing at capacity. We're not constantly focusing right at the threshold of what we can handle, where if any little thing goes off, we're now out of control, right? So another thing I want to say is that if you can afford a house cleaner, this has actually been a game changer for me. I don't do it all the time. Try to do like every 2 weeks, but sometimes I'm skipping weeks or canceling that particular cleaning and going more like once a month. But having someone who is going to come into my house and clean, that I'm paying it feels like a ridiculous amount of money to have them do this, means I'm going to reset my house at least at that frequency. And then it's going to get really actually cleaned. And then I start fresh again, right? So, in an ideal world, it would be great to be able to do this weekly. It's not going to happen. And in an ideal world, I wouldn't have to spend an hour picking things up and making it ready for somebody to clean. But if I don't do that, then what happens after a month or 2 months or 5 months? It's a nightmare, right? So if it's not house cleaner, if you can't afford a house cleaner, then invite people over. Just make some commitment where people are going to be coming into your space and there's a reason why it needs to be picked up. There's a reason why it needs to be presentable, and stick to that because that's going to be a huge motivating factor for you. All right. So we have covered, at least super high level, some of the things you can consider. I did another video where I walked through sort of a reset approach that I took when I was feeling completely overwhelmed, drained, and was like, I just need to figure out how to deal with this chaos that was in my space around me. So there's a lot of really good tips in there. I encourage you to check that video out as well. But our next step on this sphere journey is going to be looking at the concept of sphere. So, how do we build a sphere around us, both from a community standpoint, from a relational standpoint, in terms of maybe romantic relationships or friendships? How do we build a relationship with our kids? How do we build a relationship with ourselves? Those are all pieces of what we want to make sure that we're building for us and for our kids so that we can have a support system around us that is functioning well because relationships are so much a part of our lives. They really dictate a huge amount of how we feel about life, right? So that's going to be coming up next. I definitely encourage you to check that out. And remember,
you are so loved. You are enough.
And you got this.